EuropeanIrish.com is the only resource serving the Irish emigrant population across all of continental Europe, or indeed Irish who travel to continental Europe. It might surprise many listeners to know that today it's estimated there are over 300,000 Irish people living in continental Europe. So to find out a little bit more about this wonderful resource, EuropeanIrish.com, we have on the line the man who initiated the project several years ago, and that's Proinsias Collins from County Cork. You're very welcome to the Irish Abroad, Proinsias.
Thanks, Paschal. How are you?
So you've been doing this for about 6 years. Now, we spoke in the initial series of the Irish Abroad, and I'm curious to just explore, in your opinion, what changes have been happening over the last couple of years, inevitably because of the economic crisis here in Ireland and the fact that there's been a greater mobility of people, and continental Europe would seem to be a natural place for them to consider going, particularly the professional Irish.
Absolutely. And even, I suppose, up until the economic crisis at the start of, say, last year, of 2009, for the 2 years up to that, there were more Irish immigrants actually went to continental Europe than to the UK and America combined.
You would have established, again, from looking at the website, many of these Irish professionals did so to acquire skills and upgrade their experience and expertise and then come back. Has that now stopped, do you think?
What we did find was that the Irish that went to continental Europe, they went with the intention of staying for maybe 2 years to 5 years and like that. But I suppose like many of the Irish who have gone abroad before, they end up meeting a partner or they end up staying longer and settling. What we find across continental Europe, I suppose, different from the likes of the Irish in the UK or in the States, for example, is that because they have to get to know the language, they seem to embed themselves in the local culture and the local world much quicker. They also in turn introduce their Irish cultures to local French, to local Spanish, to local German, and I suppose from that what we've seen quite significantly is a growth in Irish dancing schools all across continental Europe.
I noticed, in fact,
GA clubs and all that.
Yeah, I noticed, Proinsias, in the current website, if you just log on to it now, that in fact you are highlighting a number of feshana taking place in the most unlikely of places, Moscow and the Ukraine. And you were telling me before we came in air about a rather interesting young Ukrainian that has taken up Irish music with great aplomb.
So similar to Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent, there's an equivalent in Ukraine called, I suppose, Ukraine's Got Talent. And this 12-year-old guy entered the competition doing Irish dancing, and it was got standing ovations and everything, and progressed all the way through to the semi-final of the competition. And for such a foreign dancing type, somewhere like Ukraine, it really stood out. He's actually a world Irish dancing champion.
Another aspect of the work that you're doing on EuropeanIrish.com is changing the sort of nature of the themed Irish pub to make them more cultural centres or a focal point, much like here at home, for the Irish who gather in particular cities.
Today there are over 5,000 Irish pubs all across continental Europe. Many of them are really good Irish pubs, and some are not. And I suppose we are trying to identify which are, for the Irish people coming onto EuropeanIrish.com, they're looking, where will I go to watch the match? Where will I go to find a place that's showing either the Magners League on a weekend night? And what we found is that across Spain, we have a focus there on the Guinness official Irish pubs. There are over 200 of Guinness official Irish pubs all across the country. And what we're doing through those is we're looking at establishing what's known as an Irish corner, giving each of those an Irish presence so that they become like almost the Irish embassy, so that any person that comes into the Irish pubs and they want to know anything about Ireland, that it is all there. You have Tourism Ireland information there, you have flight information there, you've got information about local Irish clubs, Irish societies, any GA clubs, and what's grown very much, I suppose, over the last 12 months is the whole Irish business networks in different countries now all across Europe.
And of course, I note that you're backed by Enterprise Ireland, which in the current climate, obviously, your resource, EuropeanIrish.com, is proving to be a very vital tool in promoting Ireland.
Absolutely. And I suppose Enterprise Ireland have almost twinned with the local Irish embassies. And this is actually a project, or it's like a pet project of Micheál Martin's, was in almost transferring the ownership of the local Irish business network from the Enterprise Ireland to the local Irish embassy, I suppose. And that way there's there's continuity. And we're finding in places like Italy and Spain and Germany and France that these networks are really starting to take off. It's like having a local consultant in the region who's actually Irish but actually knows everything that you need to do locally to do business.
So if anybody wants to find out more about all this wonderful activity, not just on the cultural side, but on the business side, on the sporting side and the leisure side, EuropeanIrish.com is really the home of all this information. And if they log on to that, you also publish a newsletter, and I gather you have several thousand subscribers to the newsletter, which is free, of course.
Yeah, we've more than 4,000 subscribers at the moment to our newsletter. It is free, and we're developing at the moment as well a partnership of all the Irish clubs, societies and associations all across continental Europe, so that all of those have a free platform on which to reach the arriving Irish and to reach the local Irish that are already based there.
And next on the Irish